Hello everyone, welcome to today's news charter. Let us begin with the prelims practice question of the day. All right, take a look at this question. Which among the below statements regarding the Enforcement Directorate is incorrect? Enforcement Directorate is very important for the examination, especially in 2024. Either in prelims or mains, there is a very high probability of getting a question because regularly Enforcement Directorate has been in news. So let's read the statements. It can investigate violations of foreign exchange laws. Yes, it can. Enforcement Directorate deals with corruption. Enforcement Directorate deals with foreign exchange management, foreign exchange regulation, etc. So this is not the option. Second one, there are 5 regional offices. Yes, 5 regional offices are there. Apart from Chennai, Mumbai, Kolkata, and Delhi, Chandigarh is also a regional office. So this is also not the right statement. The tenure of ED directors could now be expanded by 2 years at a time is wrong. It can be extended 1 year at a time. The tenure is 2 years in total, but if the government wants, they can extend the tenure 1 year at a time until 5 years. So be careful about it. Then the final statement, ED enforces Fugitive Economic Offenders Act. Yes, it enforces. So the third statement is the incorrect statement. Let's start with the topic of the day. Incon Declaration was adopted in 2015 at the World Education Forum. It is a forum which was conducted to make sure the global economies, the countries around the world, are going to develop their educational field in a greater extent. So Incon Declaration is important in mains examination. You can make use of it in prelims examination. They can ask what exactly it is related to. It is related to global environment, global educational development. So what was it all about? It was to build a education for all movement. They wanted to ensure that all people in the entire world is getting educated. It is closely aligned with the sustainable development goals. In sustainable development goals, there is a specific goal to promote education for all, and that is the reason this particular Incon Declaration came into being. So Incon Declaration ensures UNESCO with the goal of education for all. UNESCO is going to be implementing this. It is going to lead the global education 2030 agenda. 2030 is the agenda for sustainable development goals. All the 17 sustainable development goals has to be achieved by 2030. That is the agenda. So in this, there is a goal for education and it is the UNESCO which is going to implement it. Incon Declaration, as given by India, told that we will try to increase our GDP allocation to 4 to 6% for education. This is what India mentioned. But at present, if you see the total amount of allocation for education is just 2.8%, which is not enough. Most of the developed countries, if you see, their allocation will be around 6%. India should also be trying to increase its allocation to 6% of the entire GDP for education purposes. Surrogacy Regulation Rules 2022 was in news in the recent times, so you need to know about it, what exactly it talks about. Surrogacy Regulation Amendment Act, which was passed earlier, you need to have a look at it. Try to go through the Surrogacy Amendment Act also. But in 2022, they came up with a regulation rule in which it was mentioned that if a couple is going for surrogacy, at least one gamete should be from the parent. That is, for example, a wife and a husband is going for a surrogate, then in that case, at least the husband's gamete or the wife's gamete should be there in that surrogate child. But the problem comes when both of them are not in a position to come up with come up with a child. If both of them have some reproductive disability, in such case, what happens? So let us take a look at this. This 2022 rule modified to permit married couple to use donor eggs or donor sperm for surrogacy. So earlier, whatever rules was there, it was like a surrogate A surrogate mother can be only a relative or someone who is linked with the parents, and they can go for surrogacy only if there is proven reproductive problems. So these kind of things were there. So you need to study about the Surrogacy Amendment Act. In 2022, the rules modified to permit married couple to use donor eggs or donor sperm also for surrogacy. Earlier, only the couple's egg or sperm can be used. Now they have modified it so that a donor egg or donor sperm can also be used. But how it will be done? It will be done based on a board which is headed by the district magistrate who will investigate this particular situation with a medical board and then certify that the husband or the wife is not in a position to reproduce. And in such cases, we can provide a or we can try to adopt a surrogate a sperm or egg cell. The child to be born through surrogacy must have at least one gamete. So this is what I mentioned. At least one gamete should be from the parents. And it revoked a previous amendment in March 2023 that banned the use of such donor gametes. So, widow or divorcee undergoing surrogacy must use self eggs only, and this law is not applicable for single women. So, just to summarize everything, at present, the rules is like this. Surrogates can be surrogacy is allowed in India. Surrogacy is legal in India, but at least one of the gametes should be from the parents. Either the egg should be from the parent, either or the sperm should be from the parent. So the problem with this law is what will happen if both of them are not in a position to reproduce. For that, we do not have a solution until now, and single women cannot adopt. So that is again another problem. We have too many children in our country who do not have parents who are living in foster homes. So if we are allowing single mothers to adopt, that would be good for them. At least they will get some parents. So that solution is not there at present. And widowed or divorcees undergoing surrogacy must use their own self eggs. So what will they do if their eggs do not work? If they have some medical condition with which they cannot provide their eggs. So in such cases too, this law doesn't give us any solution. So the Surrogacy Act in India is still evolving, and we need to come up with more amendments to block these loopholes. Indian Coast Guard for prelims examination specifically. These kind of topics are favorites for UPSC. They will just come up with some government body or some kind of force and they will ask about the details of it. And especially in GS3, internal security is a specific topic, and this topic comes under internal security. So what is Indian Coast Guard? Indian Coast Guard was established in the year 1978 by the Coast Guard Act of 1978. So it is a statutory body. You need to know about it. They might ask a question whether it is based on an act or whether it was based on a government order. In such case, you can clearly tell it was based on an act. It was passed by the Coast Guard Act of 1978. It is an armed force. For what are all the reasons we use it? It is used for search and rescue and maritime law enforcement under the Ministry of Defense. So you should be asking a question, why do we have a navy? If Indian Coast Guard is doing this, why do we have a navy? Navy do not operate in the coastal waters of India. Navy operates after the exclusive economic zone. So from 0 kilometer from the coast to 200 kilometer, whatever small problems happen, the Indian Coast Guard will take care. After 200 kilometers, it is for the Indian Navy to take care. And Indian Navy is used for serious issues such as war, terrorism, etc. And Coast Guard will take out all the minor problems that is happening within the coast of the country. So maritime zones of India are divided into five coastal guard zones. Five coastal guard zones. What are they? You need to know. So the five coastal guard zones are the northwest, and the west. So west and east direction is divided into four: northwest, west, northeast, and east. Why? Because Indian coast is very big. We cannot just have one western and one eastern command. So we have four different zones. One is northwest, that is the Gujarat and the remaining places. Northeast, which includes the eastern part, northeastern part of the country, includes West Bengal and the other states. And west includes all the western parts, east includes all the eastern parts. Apart from this, one extra thing is Andaman and Nicobar. I hope it is easy to remember: west, east, northwest, northeast, and Andaman and Nicobar. So, which are the capitals or headquarters of these regions? Very simple. For northeast, it is Gandhinagar because it comes near Gujarat. For west, it is Mumbai. Very simple. For northeast, it is Kolkata, and for east, it is Chennai. And for Andaman and Nicobar, obviously, it is Port Blair, which is the capital of Andaman and Nicobar. Try to remember everything. I'm explaining it in detail because each and every detail I have told here is very important. What are the major responsibilities? They engage in environmental protection, prevention of smuggling, collaboration with littoral states for prevention of transnational activities, disaster management, etc. Mains question of the day: discuss the achievements of India in the primary education sector in the recent times. Make some critical developmental requirement in this field. Mention some critical developmental requirement. Very simple. I don't have to explain it in detail. What are all the achievements? Our literacy rate has increased. Enrollment ratio has increased. Gender enrollment gap has actually reduced. More government schools, more private schools, specific schools for minorities and tribals, etc., have been introduced. So these things you can mention. What are the developmental requirements? Requirement is you can quote the ASHA report. You can tell that, I'm sorry, you can quote the ACER report, in which they have told that there is gap in learning. Learning gap is there. School students are getting enrolled, but they are not learning anything. So we need to provide, we need to take care of it. We need to take care of continuation of education because after primary school, a lot of people drop out. So these things you can mention and you can provide your own ideas also. One of the very important topic for today, that is Article 142. Article 142, because recently in Chandigarh, the election happened and Chandigarh mayoral election happened. And in that, a lot of discrepancies were there and the Supreme Court took care of it. The Supreme Court told that we cannot consider the election results and they reappointed the mayor from Aam Aadmi Party. So that story is not that important, but what is more important is for you to know about Article 142. The Supreme Court was able to do it because of Article 142, because in Article 142, it is mentioned that it is the discretionary power of the Supreme Court. Whenever such a situation comes, that Supreme Court can exercise its jurisdiction and pass any decree or any order to provide complete justice. Complete justice is the keyword. In order to provide complete justice, the Supreme Court can make use of its legislative power, can make use of its executive power, it can do anything to provide complete justice. Means it can take over the powers of the government too. So this Article 142 gives a very good power for the Supreme Court to enforce judicial activism. Judicial activism is when Supreme Court is trying to get into the powers of the legislature or executive. Very good example for this is in 2016, the Supreme Court came up with an order to ban all liquor sales within 500 meters of the national highways. So this is actually a law-making power of the government, but the Supreme Court took care of it, took this under its control because it thought that there are a lot of accidents which happened because of drunken driving, and it is because the liquor shops are located along the national highways. So this particular article is very important. For prelims, a small fact: Sudarshan Setu was recently opened by the Prime Minister. Sudarshan Setu is India's longest cable-stayed bridge, and its length is around 2.3 kilometer, linking Oka mainland to Bay Dwarka. Bay Dwarka is a small island in Gujarat. So you need to study about it. Oka mainland to Bay Dwarka, 2.3 kilometer, 2.3 kilometer bridge, and it is the longest cable-stayed bridge of India. That will be all for today. All the best. Study well. Let's meet tomorrow.